The other most common would be the dishes not
Yeah.
cleaning, not coming out clean. For any technician going to a dishwasher that doesn't coming out, it's not coming out clean, we almost put on our Sherlock Holmes hat because it could literally be anything on a
Right.
dishwasher, starting from if the heating element is defective and it's not coming on, it's not going to get the water hot enough to effectively clean and to effectively dry the dishes. So that's one thing we would check. As far as a customer checking that at home, it is pretty difficult because you do need to get into a service mode where you can activate the heating element. But if you are able to do that, where your dishwasher hooks to household power, if you could put a meter that monitors amp draw, which is usually a little amp clamp that goes around a wire, the heating element should be pulling anywhere from like 6 to 12 amps of electricity. And if you could verify that happens, 100% your heating element's good and the fuse in line with your heating element's good.
Right.
One of the most common reasons dishes aren't getting clean is just due to poor water flow. So a filter is a big thing. If your filter is completely clogged, your dishes aren't going to get clean. You also want to look at your spray arms. Most dishwashers, especially modern dishwashers, both the lower and the upper spray arm come off really easy. They just literally, you grab onto it and you give it a quarter turn and then it just comes right off. And so inspect all the holes. If it's really built up with a lot of that hard water buildup or just crud or whatever else is on there, you may soak it overnight in like a vinegar type solution to try to break a lot of that up. Unfortunately, spray arms don't come apart. And so sometimes trying to get all of the buildup out of the spray arms, very, very difficult. I mean, there's just so many particles that can build up inside. Fortunately, spray arms, I mean, they're really not that expensive. They usually range anywhere from like $15 to $30. So it may be worth it just to buy some new spray arms. Definitely something you could do yourself. Yeah, you want to make sure those are nice and clear. So the other thing is, if you notice your dishes aren't getting clean, and when you open the door, and especially if you're using the soap pods, and you notice that it's maybe halfway dissolved and it's just kind of stuck in the dispenser, it means either you don't have good water flow, so the water from the lower spray arm isn't able to reach that pod to dissolve it, or it could be that you're not getting enough water. So one way to determine that, especially if it happens often, is to start your dishwasher as it's washing. When you open the door, there should be enough water flow where it kind of shoots out of the dishwasher. If it seems like it's really low, you could even take a pitcher of water and just add it to it and then shut the door and start it. If it dissolves the pod, you know that it's usually a lack of water issue.
Right, yeah. Really nice hack to sort of figure that one out.
Yeah, for sure. So, and if you add the water and it's still not dissolving the pod, then you have a water flow issue. And if your spray arms are nice and clear, your filter's nice and clear, it means that your motor's worn and it's just not able to function good enough to circulate that water. Replacing the motor on a dishwasher is kind of a pain. It wouldn't be a pain if it was completely uninstalled, pulled out, and on a pedestal for you to work on. But getting to it is the difficult part. For that, I would recommend calling somebody for it, but definitely expect to pay between parts and labor anywhere from $250 to $550. It just kind of depends on how difficult the installation is and how expensive the part
Gotcha,
is.
yeah. So at that point, you're sort of weighing it up between the age of your dishwasher and things like that versus getting a new one type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So another reason that your dishes aren't getting clean is your soap dispenser may not be opening at all. And typically soap dispensers, they range anywhere from like $30 to $85. And most of the time, that is a repair you could do yourself if you could find a video on how to do it on your model. It's really not that difficult. You essentially just have to remove the inner or the outer door panel, depending on the dishwasher, and then it's right there. So, and I'm trying to think. So that is the heating element, the wash motor, the spray arms. That's pretty much it. Sometimes there's some weird things that could happen where your dishwasher isn't finishing cycles, which, if it's not finishing cycles, it could be an issue with the door lock or the door latch or the door sensor. So you start it, it runs for 30 minutes, and then it thinks you open the door, and it won't start unless you actually hit the start button. So if you walk away from it and don't go back, it's only going to wash for X amount of time before it shuts down. So
Right, and that could be a door sensor. I see what you mean. It's pretty much the whole list of components, worth checking.
yeah, and then like the actuator we had mentioned
Yep.
earlier, if one rack's getting clean and the other isn't, it could be the
Right.
actuator, which that is another repair you do want a technician
Mm-hmm.
to do because it's difficult to get to that. You typically have to pull up the whole motor and sump assembly.
And anything with potential water intake issues, maybe with if it's not pulling in enough, or is that where you're meaning with the water flow before?
Yeah, so if it's not filling up enough, it definitely could be due to the water valve just maybe not opening fully to allow enough water in. It could also be the water essentially coming from your house, the plumbing. It could even be that you've had some work done recently and they turned the water off to the dishwasher and never turned it back on.
Yeah.
So definitely seen that
Really?
a lot. Or somebody gets under there to do something. Yeah, and when that happens, a lot of dishwashers will even try to start and run, and there's just no water in there. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's definitely good
Leads
to
to one
check.
very confused dishwasher.
Oh, yeah,
So
definitely.
I guess that would almost be like when you're going to double check your circuit breaker, could also be worth double checking your water valve for your whole house. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And when you are checking to see if your water is on, typically you will see the water line because sometimes there's a couple of different valves and connections under a sink and it could be kind of confusing. But you will actually see the water line. Typically the dishwasher is to the right of the sink, and so there will be one water line that's actually going through the cabinet from underneath the sink to the cabinet where the dishwasher is. So if you just follow that line to the valve that it hooks up at, what I would recommend doing, starting your dishwasher, shutting the door, and then going around and toggling that water valve on and off. Because if you turn it on, all of a sudden you hear water start coming in, then you know that it was off. It's just kind of another way to help you tell.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because there's never really, or there's often not like an on-off sort of sign.
Yeah, it depends on how the plumber hooked
Yeah.
it up, and I've seen some weird stuff
Yeah,
out
I
there.
can imagine. Oh, yeah, really good to know. And yeah, sounds like I think we covered just about everything. Maybe
Oh,
drainage?
So yeah, with the drainage, the big thing is to check the plug on the garbage disposal. Most dishwashers, if they're not hooked there, they're hooked to a drain line on the sink. And so if your issue is every time the dishwasher drains, the sink fills up, and it seems like there's always some water left in the dishwasher, you've just got a plumbing issue. You'll need to call somebody to come and snake it because the water fills up in the sink and it will eventually drain back into the dishwasher. Dishwasher drain lines are supposed to have a little rubber thing. I'm having a
I
brain
don't know, like a
fart.
seal or like a.
There's like a name
Yeah.
for it, but yeah, it's
One way.
essentially a seal, so water can only
Yeah,
flow one
yeah,
way. But especially if it's an older dishwasher, that could kind of wear out. So if it's constantly filled with a ton of water, it will eventually start to fill your dishwasher up. But yeah, other than that, typically if it's a drain pump, it's a drain line, and then everything beyond that is the household plumbing. So one way that you can be sure that if it's your dishwasher or your plumbing is just to get under your sink, remove your drain line, and just have a big bucket, put the drain line in the bucket, and activate a drain. And that way you can monitor how it's draining. If you get just a tiny little bit of water coming out, 100% you've got buildup in your drain line of your dishwasher. That's when you want to get your small snake or the cable line and run it
Gotcha.
through.
Right. Yeah, good way to
Yeah.
check. And I think it's something that most people might not feel comfortable with, but I imagine once you're actually doing it, it's simple enough.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's just one clamp holding the drain line on, and then just put it in a bucket.
Yeah.
And now beware, it's gonna smell, especially if it's a grease buildup, and sometimes it'll just pop right out of there and it'll splash on you. So be careful. It's
Yeah,
pretty gross.
get your gloves on.